Good. I'm Kate. Thank you for joining me. Namaskar means the divinity in myself greets the same divinity in you with all the charms of my mind, all the love of my heart. And today in Garden Art, I'm going to be revisiting this painting. There's an area inside of it that I feel hasn't got the depth that it needs in order to hold its space very well. So I'll be looking at that, and we'll begin. If you did come along with your sketchbook and so on, please have it ready on hand. What we do during this class is we'll do meditation first of all, and where we're connecting ourselves to that creative self, that source of creativity. That's also universal love. And then after that, we'll do some yoga exercises. And during the breathing, we'll be looking at affirmations that help us to get in touch with the feeling or the intention behind our artwork. Okay, let's start with the meditation. Babanam Kevalam Babanam Kevalam Babanam Kevalam Baba Babanam Kevalam Babanam Kevalam Baba Babanam Kevalam 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 Baba Babanam Kevalam Babanam Kevalam Baba Babanam Kevalam Babanam Kevalam Babanam Babanam Kevalam. Okay, I can see that you're not able to hear me. My apologies to those of you who are watching. We're about to start meditation, but I need to just check my sound. Sound check. That's better. It does happen sometimes. Okay. So sitting with our legs crossed, back up straight, closed. Imagine that you're seated high upon a mountain. Family and friends are far, far below, and you're all alone. Self-connecting to that environment that surrounds. And consider the universe to be made an essence of creativity, of love, of connection. Feel the same force that's guiding the stars is also guiding you within every cell, every molecule, every atom of our being. And focusing in on the essence of those feelings. Using the mantra Babanam Kevalam to infuse the body and mind, awaken the spirit of love and oneness. Allow that to grow and expand into a sphere surrounding the body, encompassing everything beyond the horizon. Above, below, in front and behind, feel that sphere growing until it encompasses the entire planet. so that all hearts are beating as one heart. All minds are thinking and feeling as one mind. Using the mantra Baba Nam Kevalam, all is love, all is one. Allow the sphere to grow through the solar system, encompassing the planets, the moons, the sun, infusing the mantra Baba Nam Kevalam, all is love, all is one. Allowing that growth to continue, to expand beyond our Milky Way to the furthermost reaches of our galaxy, touching upon the stars, the trillions of suns and solar systems, and beyond to the furthermost reaches of the universe, going beyond time, beyond space, into the infinite regions of the unknown. Baba Nam Kevalam. And we'll finish our meditation. Quiet place deep inside of me. Feel the love all around me. I've never been alone since I've known there's a place where I can go, where love is all around. Since I found How to hear that sweetest sound. Saban, saban lang ibalang. Love is everywhere. Love is everyone. Okay, thank you for joining me for meditation. We'll start with some yoga, and I'll just explain to you what I'm contemplating at the moment inside this piece of art. There's a tremendous amount of depth in here, and actually the reality of this, it's part of a rose. The reality of this function is that this area is also just as deep and dark. Yes, the petals are being hit by the sunlight, and in this case there's even a sort of translucence to that because light was bouncing off the inner petal. This is the very inside of the rose. Yet this area here is as deeply embedded inside the flower as this area, and I want to get that sense of the depth that occurs between these areas where petals are sitting more forward and the very center parts of the flower. So that was the main reason why I focused on this composition, to get that real depth that occurs down inside here. You can see it also to the side areas here. And yet I pushed it with the blue and turquoise, and then I held back with the depth of the red. So I want to bring some of that in there today. And in some ways I feel a little bit frightened because it's okay as it is. As an abstract piece, this works. The composition is quite fine. The colors are working nicely. So I can sit with it as it is, and yet it doesn't get my intention. So I'm going to go back into it and work to bring my intention into the piece. The other thing about that is emotionally also. It's been a painting around recognizing layers of grief or layers of letting go, recognizing that they exist inside a certain situation and allowing a sort of change to come. And what I've seen is, as I was looking at what was causing me pain inside of this, if you like, I was able to highlight those emotions with this blue color. I was able to explore, in my case, it was to do with contempt, and different emotions were coming up around situations that were occurring inside the relationship. So I was able to look at the contempt and look at the disdain that was coming up for me and start to see that that was part of the overall picture. Yet I kept it very shallow. I didn't allow it to go very deep. And even when I came back in to reconcile the two colors, I lifted the blue up to the level of the orange rather than pushing the blue in with purples and so on. So in some ways, I minimize something that is a maximum, has been a maximum experience. So now I want to try to bring that depth back into this painting. I have no idea how to do it, but I'm going to start with yoga and try and breathe my way through it. So those of you who do, well, it doesn't matter if you do art or not. Those of you with your sketchbook, with your work, have a look at it. Find places inside of it where you feel, I want to go back in and take a risk. And for me, there is a risk in doing this because, as I said, I feel like it's already finished. So it's finished, particularly this area here is what I'm wanting, this side panel here. But the rest of it's not finished. The rest of it's sitting in a kind of surface way. So hands behind our back, we'll do our yoga mudra to start with. And I have got my paints here, so I may be working back into it in a moment. But let's just begin with yoga mudra. I think today's warm enough. I don't need my little coatie on. the lovely thing about being out in the garden has been that I've got all these birds calling around me. I'm engaging with temperatures that I don't engage with normally inside the house. I'm dealing with insects and wildlife. And somehow, because the paintings are touching on the forms inside nature, there's a rose just up here above my head and so on. Because I'm engaging inside of this, its own creative expression. Gardens are very creative on their own. And different phases of growth, of degeneration, there's leaves on the ground. There's lots of metaphors inside here, and I'm sitting on the path, which is a place going somewhere through this. Because of all these reasons, I find that it awakens something inside of me that stirs up my own creativity. It feels like if the universe can be so engaged in creativity every day, different flowers are blooming around me, there's a tremendous amount of color, there's different forms and shapes in the leaves, in the buds, in the seeds, and to have that as a backdrop to exploring my own creativity is very exciting. Okay, let's breathe in, and breathing out, exhale and release. So notice any tensions or tightness in the mind and body. Exhale and hold. Breathe in, come up. And breathe out. Hold. Breathing in. And breathe out. So let's get some affirmations going. First of all, I'm releasing any limited thoughts. I'm releasing fear. Breathing in. I'm embracing creativity and courage. And exhale. Releasing limitations, fear. And breathing in. I am courage and creativity. Let's flip our legs over. Coming forward, down. Exhale and hold. Releasing limitations, fears. Breathing in. Embracing creativity and courage. I am that creative force. I am that courage that's needed in order to act, and releasing. I release my limited thoughts and emotions. And breathe in. Coming up. Again, exhale. Releasing fears, concerns. And breathe in, coming up. Last time. I am exhaling, I'm releasing my fears, any limitations in my thoughts, in my body. And breathe in, come up. Okay, I'm going to go straight into Gomatasana because I feel in order to do this, I need to open my heart and still my mind. So arm over the top, other arm underneath, catching the hands at the back. This yoga posture is one that creates strength of mind and because the hands are supporting the heart area, gives a sense of confidence, can strengthen our direction, intention, and it helps to remove hypocrisy. So breathing in, I am truth, I'm courage, I am creativity. and releasing any kind of, for me, I'm holding on to contempt and cynicism. So while I'm holding my heart, I'm releasing those defenses, contempt, cynicism, sarcasm, allowing those to loosen inside the body, inside the mind, and release. Okay, relaxing. I'll try it on the other side. So those of you who were here yesterday, I've also got a blank canvas sitting just there behind this one, waiting for me. Because these paintings are part of a triptych. And when I complete this, I'm going to start the third, which has to do with reconciliation. And since I started these paintings, the relationship that had fallen apart has begun to reconnect in very surprisingly, in a very unexpected and rapid manner. And although it's not what it was, perhaps that's good, there's certainly a sense of extension through past the pain of separation. It is very, very positive. So I am sitting in a space of gratitude at the moment. And I think doing the artwork actually helped, because it gave me the courage to make approaches that I might not have made. It set aside my hurt pride and to be open to having contributed towards the breakdown, instead of just blaming the other person and thinking that they've got it all wrong. So that's been very helpful. And definitely doing the painting, as well as sitting in these classes and having up to an hour to dedicate to these emotions, it helped very much to be able to bring a sense of normality and balance. And release. We'll do that again on the other side. And then I'm going to do a bit of painting. And release. And the same thing on the other side. I do love being surrounded by these warm orange colors inside this green and blue setting. It's beautiful. And this garden that I'm sitting in, my mother's garden, although we can't see it now, I am surrounded by pinks and reds and oranges. Beyond the camera, behind you, there's another whole lot of deep yellow, puce pink, beautiful deep pinks and reds, all blooming. Cactus flowers are all happening down that end. And it's the time now for orchids. Beautiful orchids are opening. It's very lovely. And release. Okay, I'm going to pick up my brush and do a bit of work on here. I'll talk you through what I'm doing, or talk myself through it. And at the same time, if you have your art with you, so what I do sometimes is, especially when there's a piece to be worked on, like now, and especially if it takes something like courage, like this one does, then I'll work on it and talk my way through it, and then go back to doing a little bit more yoga. So if you do have a piece that you're working on, now I'm inviting you to have a go at it. And I also think I'm being quite brave because I'm like clothes on. It's not something I easily would do usually, but anyway, it's been so far, it's been okay. So I'm looking to find a depth of color like this. I'm hesitating because this one's only got pure blue. This one's got a turquoise through it. So I think what I have to do, instead of doing a deep purple, is I have to go into the kind of brown, the realms of browns, and mix up a deeper sort of orangey red rather than a purpley red. And play that alongside the turquoise. And in these paintings, I haven't used any white. I've just used the canvas for my white, or I've come back in with crayons over the areas that were watercolorish. And I haven't used watercolors either. I've just used acrylics, and they're quite hard to manage as a watercolor kind of. Okay, so I guess I'll start. And so what I'm doing is I put each stroke, because I'm working with really tiny brush strokes right now. As I'm putting the strokes in, I'm also considering what this means for me. It means this is an expression, as I said, of changes inside this relationship, and depth inside of it that I've tended to push aside because of the feelings of hurt, particularly hurt. Pride is one thing, but also just hurt in a level of affection. For me, the relationship that this talks about was one of a friendship that I valued, and I was so used to it. It was an everyday kind of occurrence. I was so used to that interaction each day that as that started to become threatened, I did things to protect myself. So I started telling myself, no, it doesn't matter. This is not important. And I started to minimize the value that I had in this particular relationship. And that is a defensive action of mine. It's a pattern defensive action that I learned as a child due to sibling rejection and so on. And it's just it's a go-to from my part. I noticed at different times in my life when I was having to change locations and change relationships, I would often go into a space where it was like, oh, okay, well, that was not of importance to me. I'd minimalize the depth of relationships that I'd held dear in order to be able to separate from them. Mhm. And that's interesting to remember that, because as I'm painting, I can start to feel that the impact of what those, it's not just one time, it's many, many times where I've, I've been through situations that were quite grief, yeah, that had a lot of grief around attachment, and experiencing that grief. Well, I didn't let myself experience it. So this section here is starting to talk about what that felt like, actually. It's interesting to be painting into it with that, in that context. What I find when I'm painting is often the emotions that are behind the intentions start to come up, and it's almost like reliving experiences that yeah, that were difficult. Mm. And that's why I look at this as being a courageous act to do, to sit inside. It's nice because the art, if you're doing art as a therapy, or art as with a connection to more than just the aesthetics, then immediately all of those insights start to wake up. The thing is that the art piece holds us the emotion. So going through the emotion while painting, it's like I can't walk away from it because it's not complete. So while I'm going in, if I'm going in with intention of, oh my goodness, and while I'm painting this, I'm feeling this, I'm reliving this experience, I'm reconciling completion to parts of myself that were not complete. And it's what happens is they start to surface, and then as they come to the surface, so this is what occurs to me, as they come to the surface, it's like the paint and the action of painting holds me to those emotions. Why it's good to do this along with yoga is that when the emotion becomes too strong, it's like, okay, I can drop it. I can drop it. I can do some breathing. I can do some postures. I can just, oh yeah, this is coming up. That's painful. That's a very powerful feeling that I'd been suppressing. I didn't even know was there. So as I'm starting to discover, oof, I forgot about it. And then start to see how, oh yeah, and it's starting to play inside my, it's starting to play in my daily. So definitely I'm in a, emotionally, personally, I'm in a vulnerable place because I haven't seen my husband for 4 months, and we'll be meeting again in 2 weeks' time. Today it's my daughter's 16th birthday, and this that she's ever had without her dad and I together. And that's just because of COVID lockdown. We've been in lockdown for the last few months, and we can't get home. And he can't come. He hasn't been able to come to see us. We've booked tickets a few times, and then there was more lockdown, so we had to back off from reuniting. And inside of that, excuse me, inside that story, there's another story about times in my life where I wasn't able to access the places and be with the people that I was close to. Yeah, particularly around girlfriends kind of disappearing during those teen years and things like that. And then later on in life, I didn't realize there was so. I had a sense, yeah, there's something about the depths of this that's missing, and I wasn't sure what that was. And now I'm starting to see what it is. Metaphorically, I would say it's a fear of looking at the depth that my relationships hold. I tend to, if it looks like they're going to be painful, I'll tend to minimalize the importance of the relationship And yeah, kind of just like pretend it wasn't that important, which that's not very fair. It's not fair for the other person as well, as for myself. So well, how's that going? Yeah, from where you're sitting, it's not easy to see that there's any change happening at all. From where I'm sitting, I can see something different happening. Maybe not quite fully to the extent that it needs to be. And yeah, I'll just keep working with it for a few more minutes and then I'll do a bit more yoga. And instead of using, I'm using a pointillist style in this one. And I've been doing that in a few of the paintings. That rose also, I worked back into it with just tiny, tiny pointillist marks with crayons. Which is something I don't usually do. It that usually represents a sense of water. And it's been interesting to put that into the texture of a flower. I do find flowers quite watery. Well, it's getting there. Okay, I'm going to finish soon and go back to doing some yoga. And then I'll take this away, work with it in another space. Thank you for joining me. I hope that this is helpful to you. All right, let's do a little bit more yoga then. Go down and do a cobra. Cobra is a beautiful position for opening up the heart. So coming down, hands next to the head. Oh, I think the dogs are about to come out. Exhale fully. Breathe in, lifting up, and hold. Exhale down. And again, breathing in, come up. And exhale and down. Breathe in, come up. Breathing out, exhale, hold. Breathing in. Exhale and down. Breathing in. And out. And engaging the toes. We'll lift up into down dog. Dropping the feet forward, the knees down, hands up over the head. We'll finish with Diga Pranam. So feeling I'm bringing all of my creativity, all my connection into my arms, and exhale, forward, down, and hold. Breathing. And exhale. Breathing in, imagining in your hands you hold all the colors of the mind, like a bouquet of flowers, and exhale, releasing colors of the mind. Release, exhale. Breathing in and exhale, as if you're making an offering back to the universe. Breathing in and exhale. Feeling myself, I'm surrendering all the colors of my mind. And breathing in, coming up, arms down. Okay, that's enough for me today. I'll let you get on with your artwork. I'm Kate. If I can do it, we can do it. Let's get healthy and wealthy together. Namaskar. Thank you for joining me.